Welcome to the Occult Rejects. We are two former secret society members who were determined to show the public the truth that occultism has been purposely integrated into every aspect of society, from politics to music, Hollywood, and science. This is used to manipulate the public as a whole and to protect the fake elite. The symbols are used all around us to affect world events and public perception, our behavior, and even our future. We will translate the occult so that you have eyes to see. We reject their agenda to give you the tools to save yourself.
Welcome back to a new episode of the Occult Rejects. This will be the third and final part of the Gateway Experience. I want to thank you all for checking out this whole series. I hope people got something out of it. I hope you enjoyed it. I do want to add, again, we are both saying we do not promote the Hemisync Gateway tapes. It was just something we wanted to cover because we think it did point to a lot of occult practices and experiences. I do want to say so myself. I know I had said that I tried the second tape. Now, by the time I had gotten to that tape, I had already realized what it was like kind of doing. I also realized that from my experience, what he was already doing by the second tape, I could see it taking us. It was by far probably would have gotten me results a lot quicker than I had done with ceremonial magic. So I never went any farther because I don't know exactly what's on these tapes. I don't know if there's something in there. I don't know if there's an agenda. So again, we are not promoting it. I did speak to two people that had emailed us that I think I spoke to from Gab that said that they were using the tapes. Now, there was one person that did happen to actually, I think, purchase the tapes from Gateway themselves because the Monroe Institute is still around and still doing their thing. And he actually sent us an email not too long ago, and I'm going to read that because I think it's another perfect reason why I will not promote these tapes. I think you guys are right. The more I research, I realize this may be another avenue for the mystery religion. Just received a new meditation from them, a sun meditation, how to put the sun in your heart. So just from that itself can tell you, where is this going? You should be thinking that just from that email. Planets and stuff like that are used in occultism. So again, we are not promoting it, and I thank the listener. If you're hearing this now, I very much appreciate the fact that you even emailed us that. But again, we thank you all from listening to the long series. But we think I had a lot of information in there. There was definitely a lot of occult practices that we saw, and we thought that the people should know that and know that the government is involved with it. Hope you all enjoyed again. And everybody be well. Later.
And when I read that in the CIA document, I about dropped it, okay? Because, like you said, it says, okay, well, yeah, the Gateway Experience works. This is how you do it. Oh, and by the way, before you really get into, the astral travel and the remote viewing, you're going to need to do this energy conversion balloon because you've got to protect yourself against lower resonating entities.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how it said it too, entities. For sure, I know it said that.
Yeah, in the CIA document, and I was like, what? And they talk about that these entities are of a lower vibrational level. So maybe those entities are simply in a neighboring dimension at a lower vibration. That's the same way that you would call the traditional Christian hell or things like that, you go down into hell, you fall down into hell. But one thing that I wanted to touch on is, so they go into on page 7, bullet point 12, holograms. And I'm going to go ahead and just read a quick excerpt from that. So they're really, really focused on holograms, and I'm a little bit surprised by that. because I was wondering, well, how does that play into everything? Well, it says here, the purest kind of light available to us is what is produced by a laser, which sends out a beam in which all waves are of one frequency, like those made in an ideal pebble in a perfect pond. When two laser beams touch, they produce an interference pattern of light and dark ripples that can be recorded on a photographic plate. And if one of the beams, instead of coming directly from the laser, is reflected first off of an object, such as a human face, the resulting pattern will be very complex indeed. But it can still be recorded. The record will be a hologram of the face. So they're giving legitimacy to holograms and how holograms work, and goes on to say a further importance is the fact that even if we dropped so it goes back into this little analogy of like a pebble and falling into a pond. It says, dropped from our frozen hologram of a ripple pattern on the floor and broke it into a number of pieces, each individual piece would recreate the entire holographic image, resulting holographic projections, but the fact remains that a whole projection would nonetheless be made. The key to creating any hologram is that energy in motion must interact with energy in a state of rest, non-motion. In the foregoing example, the pebble represents energy in motion, while the water is in a state of rest. To activate, to affect, or perceive the meaning of a hologram, energy, in this case, a coherent light source such as a laser beam, must first be passed through the interference pattern generated by interaction between the moving energy. And it keeps kind of describing, what holograms are and how that they work, but then it goes on to say that we live in a consciousness matrix. Yeah. This is the CIA, and they're saying that the universe is composed of interacting energy fields. Some are at rest and some are at motion. It is in this and of itself one gigantic hologram of unbelievable complexity.
Yeah, when they started getting into that stuff, I was actually surprised.
So the CIA just said that we live in a hologram of unbelievable complexity.
Yeah.
And it says that the way that we are able to decode the reality is the way that we perceive light and the way that it comes in through our eyes and then the way it's filtered through our brains. That's what we see as reality, right? So they now have said, the weird thing about it is they don't even say hypothetically that maybe this is what we're in. This is saying that this is where we live, that we live in a hologram of unbelievable complexity.
So it's basically saying that this stuff works because of that reason.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the wild thing is that when you're reading these things, or this article, it's like you start realizing that it's like saying like this stuff works because this is the situation.
Right. And yeah, exactly. So the reason why it's even possible is the way that they find all these hacks in the systems kind of do all of this stuff is because they know what it is. As a whole, it's a hologram that we live in, or the consciousness matrix, which I do think is interesting that they use the word matrix. There's so much of the symbology of matrix that's always kind of shoved to the public. Think about all the Matrix movies. Yeah. He's coming out of the Matrix to learn his reality, what it really is, I think movies like that are an analogy of maybe what's really going on.
Well, like we were talking earlier, like Stranger Things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And for anybody who might think that that's a really far out there idea of maybe like the hologram or we live in a matrix thing. Just quick reference to the Bible, Exodus 34:19. It says, Exodus 34:19, and that opened the matrix is mine. And every first among thy cattle, whether ox or sheep. So it continues on, and it talks about opening a matrix. And this is God saying this here. This is God's words, that He made this matrix. So that's in the Bible, and that's a really kind of unknown verse there. But it does reference it. So
it's actually kind of crazy that's in the Bible.
Yeah, it says that the real reason that we are functioning and doing the things that we are, and the way that the reason why we perceive the holographic matrix the way that we do is because CIA says that we have a thing that's called a brain in phase, which is very similar to the way that they explain it here. They say that it operates like a computer. Our brain operates like a computer. And unfortunately, the computer is not quite right, because the left side of the brain is filtering out everything deemed sort of like unimportant to the right. So it's saying that once you do the hemisync, that you literally get a new feel of reality.
Mm-hmm.
And talks about, so once you do this hemisync, that you'll begin to have more self-cognition. It goes into diagrams, page 10, about, what happens during the hemisync, and then how you begin to perceive reality slightly different. Just jump real quick here. This is page 11. It says, up to this point, our discussion of the gateway process has been relatively simple and easy to follow. Yeah, right. Says, now the fun begins. Gateway involves more than just perception of those aspects of the universal hologram, which can be accessed in dimension of space-time as we know it. To explain how and why human consciousness can be brought to transcend the limitations of time-space is the next task that we must address. To do this, we must first appreciate that time and space are in order to understand how the dimension that they constitute can be transcended. So they're saying, yeah, we just explained how the dimensions are created, and that's how we know we're able to interact between them. Physicists define time as a management of energy or force in motion. In other words, it is a measurement of change. However, in order for energy to be in motion, it first must be limited in some way within the confines of some sort of vibratory pattern, so that its confinement gives us the capability of being contained at a specific location which is distinguishable from other locations, and that is what we call space. Energy is not confined as force without limit, without dimension or limit of form. Energy is infinity. It cannot move. There is nothing beyond infinity, and there is nothing outside of the dimension of time. It is also beyond space, because the concept implies that a specific energy form is limited to a specific location. So they're talking about how energy is sort of simply the absolute. It is, the material of our universe, and that human consciousness in altered states can get access to different places in time and space.
Yep. Yeah, it goes to Focus 15 I was looking at now is travel into the past. Focus 21 is the future.
Right.
Yeah. Those are different focuses are like different things inside the gateway tapes practices.
Yeah, and they say that that's possible here because our dimensions are intervening with other dimensions. Mm-hmm. I mean, it goes deep. It goes all the way into subatomic particles. It talks about dimensions. It talks about the literal fabric of the way that the universe is made. And apparently the CIA calls our universe torus, the torus, and it's shaped like an apple.
They call it Taurus, and the OTO calls it Horus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, how ironic is that?
Yeah, yeah. And well, honestly, and in the drawing, when it shows you the Taurus of what they're drawing, I mean, I could see how you could make an H out of that, also turning it a different way.
Yeah, and the diagram that they draw,
it almost
in
even
the
looks
analysis,
like a butterfly.
Yeah, it does look like a butterfly too. It's got, it just looks like if you sliced an apple right in half, and you had the seeds in the center, and then it's got that weird other extra thing, and then it goes out further. That's exactly what this looks like. Their diagram for the space that we live in, and they claim in this diagram that our galaxy is north, so it's pretty high to, I guess what they're saying is the black hole, not the black hole at the center of our galaxy, but like the super big black hole for the entire fabric of space.
I found interesting those two pictures that they had. One looked like an apple, and the other one looked like a heart, for the way of describing the black hole.
Yep, and it says that you have a black hole and you have a white hole, and they're at opposing ends of the fabric of space, and that the black hole continuously pulls energy into it and then spits it out the other side in the white hole, which energy comes out of and then back into this like self-perpetuating energy grid thing.
It's basically Kabbalah 101 right there with the left and right pillar.
Yeah.
That's to be the best way to explain it, actually. Break it down into energy. Be the same way.
Yep.
It's the same exact way that the pillar works.
And in the Kabbalah, once you reach Tiferet, then you could say that's the Godhead, right?
Yeah.
Or like you're out. I mean, the way that I perceive it, at least, is that you are outside of. You're outside. The way that it's like a separate sphere from the others.
Yeah, I think so.
Like it's above our perception, is the way that it's always been explained to me. It's like God in his purest form.
It's like a spiritual experience, I think. That's the only way you could really explain it.
Right, and then it's the same exact thing that they're saying right here in this document.
Yep.
That once you sort of reach the highest place, you're actually able to exit whatever the stuff is that we're in, and it gives a lot more validity to the path of the tree of life. I mean, if you do bad stuff, you go down on the tree of life, and you get into more dense energy. Same thing they're explaining here. You not exactly about the reincarnation stuff, but where the white and black holes are located. It's like
yeah, I see a lot of ties with that stuff with the tree of life.
Yeah.
Which is why I was saying I thought it was so weird. Like, how does that actually really tie into scientifically? You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, oh, well, we weren't supposed to know this stuff back then.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think so. For all of our listeners who are wondering sort of where the CIA went with this, once they found out this information and they were able to consolidate it and figure out it worked, and they went on to do some real crazy experiments. And we have declassified documents that we can get into on another episode, where they literally were training armies of people with the Gateway method to learn to remote view. So with the Gateway process, they would be able to remote view, meaning they could visit places in the past and in the present or the future, anywhere in space, as long as they completed the Gateway Experience. So total out-of-body travel, total remote viewing. The CIA was doing stuff where they were trying to track down drug smugglers, and they were trying to track down, heads of state. They wanted to know where, this president was or this important guy was. I mean, they were the men that stare at goats, like that movie, in a satirical way. That's real. Yeah, it's true. That's what they were like. New York Patriot said, the Stranger Things. She's remote viewing.
Mm-hmm. I would like to bring up which is the reason why we even did this episode. Because I think I had somebody make a comment or a question about it. The reason we even had this on our show is because, well, one, we both think that it's tied into occult practices, and two, the reason we're putting it out there is because this is our government acknowledging that they believe in this stuff, and that they're probably using it in shit to control us or against us. That's something that we really didn't go into on the first episode, but I think that's kind of like what you're starting to get into now. Is just that who knows what they're actually doing with this now.
Right.
And we're showing, and we're just bringing this topic up, saying that this, could be actually be doing some fucked up shit, and it is in my opinion, tied into occult practices. It's just a different road to get to the same place.
Yep. And to me, this document it validates magic. I think it proves magic as a scientific reality. I think that it proves a lot of things that other people would sort of say as woo-woo or fake or, just, bullshit. And the CIA is saying, well, no, it's not. And actually, we're going to use it to do a bunch of real crazy stuff. And to me, and they were doing this in the 80s. They were doing this in the 80s. I mean, think about what just to give you an idea, and we'll get into this at some point, they were taking people to remote view the moon, Mars. So they were taking a person who could astrally project and remote view, and they gave this person a set of coordinates to go to, and it was a place that they had never been to, obviously, because it came to find out that the location that the CIA had sent the remote viewer was to Mars 1 million years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, they actually say that shit in their documents. This isn't like something that I found on fucking Twitter. This is actually something you can read right off of their fucking... So some dude with the 60K following account didn't drop that tweet yesterday, and I'm taking it as gospel. This is actually coming from the CIA.
Right. I didn't find this in the basement of Reddit. Trust me. Yeah, I mean, and if you walked up to somebody and you told somebody that on the street, they would call you crazy. They would not believe you. That, oh, hey, the CIA was traveling to Mars. I mean, come on, it sounds like a bunch of bullshit, but they were doing it. And I mean, they just went on to do so much more with this information. And like New York Patriot was saying, it's like, when one group of people have this information and the other doesn't, no wonder things are as bad as they are.
Yeah, for real. Which is which is the main reason where we got into this is because it's in our opinion, it's just showing you how there's manipulation probably going on with occultism by the government.
Yeah, definitely. They under.
Well, I'm just saying that's how it got onto our show.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the best story untold. No one really knows too much about Gateway. I think that this information should get out to as many people as possible. I mean, for you, for example, so you've been doing Gateway for a little while. How have you felt compared to, let's say, magical practices?
In my opinion, I think I don't know if it was you or somebody else I had said it to. I was like, if I would have, I guess, instead of, let's say I didn't get into the OTO, ceremonial magic, but did something, I probably would have had different and probably more positive experiences from this. Now, in saying that, I'm not telling people to go out and do it, because I had only listened to 2 tapes, but it just seemed like a much more, not always better though, quicker. It did seem like a quicker and more easier way to get results that took me a lot longer on my own with magical practices. For sure.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, for sure. That probably goes along with the sound, because when I was doing the other stuff, it's just me sitting there trying to do the things, just sitting alone. Now with the sounds added, I'm assuming that's what's helping it, come about a lot faster.
I agree. And then in the document too, they do say that there have been cases of people who've been standing too close to an air conditioner, and that vibration accidentally hemi-synced to them, which caused some physical problems, I think. So, I think you're right. The major part of the thing that we've been missing is the tones, the vibration.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's focused on in magic, but I wouldn't say it's the crux of it.
No, but
at the heart of it,
there is a big thing with ringing bells, ringing tinctures, knocks. I think a lot of people miss the point of sounds when it comes to ceremonial magic. It is used, and I think a lot of people don't realize, even when they're doing it, that it's actually, for my opinion, for the vibration that you're actually, whatever you're doing. I even think of that, believe it or not, in my opinion, a lot of the stuff some people may not know in magic, ceremonial magic, all these things have associations with herbs, crystals, colors, burning the herbs, certain oils, like I said, crystals and stones. In my opinion, some of those things I think is all to help try to maybe possibly create the rate, a vibrational rate. And this has always been my opinion in magic. Before we even went over this, I had thought a lot of that stuff, some reason for burning certain herbs or certain smells and certain crystals, was because it's kind of vibrating closer to what you're looking to attain or become. You know what I'm saying? It's the wavelength of that could be going along with what you're looking to achieve. As well as that sounds, I had always thought that, regardless, prior to getting into really into this stuff, is because I had always believed, it's scientific proof though. Everything has a fucking vibrational rate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a fucking coffee table, a chair. It doesn't matter if it's alive or not. I had just assumed that that's probably something behind it that had, and going over this, I by far definitely believe it now. I think that's, it all has to do with certain vibrations. Neither it's from sound or what. Or that you can hear,
Yeah, and I've noticed. So I noticed that, I think that the big difference between a lot of the stuff I've done in the past and this is the tones are directly in your ear.
Oh yeah.
It's way more intense. It's not like you're in a room with a ringing, a singing bowl or something. There's another example of vibration being used for meditative practices.
Yeah.
The Buddhists, they're very specific about what a certain singing bowl should resonate at. So there's just more hidden wisdom or information there. They knew parts of that too. That vibration is very important to occult practices.
Yep.
And in no way are we trying to demonize the Gateway experience or the method at all. I definitely think that it's legit. I think it works. But the tone that I take specifically where I'm frustrated with, it has nothing to do with Gateway. It has to do with the CIA. The United States government knows this information, and they use it to manipulate the masses. Just better than a puppeteer. They have a whole separate deck of playing cards that they're using that we don't.
Yep.
And until that comes out and until we have equal footing, you know, we're not going to be able to resolve a lot of the problems that our society is sort of dissolved into at this point, right?
Totally right.
Like,
yeah.
well, we something like this needs to come out to change things. So I mean, you know, they're exploring Mars.
Yeah, according to them, 1 million years ago too.
Imagine if how much self-learning that you could gain from, you know, these practices. Such a positive impact you could make on the world around you. And of course, the first thing the CIA does is they try and hunt down like drug smugglers. But yeah, so when we talk about it in that way, it's only in relation to the CIA.
Yep. Well, I think that sums it up, basically.
Yeah.
That was the Gateway Experience. I mean, we'll have, I'm sure, like you said, we're going to have episodes that come because of this to go into other things. So this definitely won't be the last one, but it sums it up for now.
Yeah, one thing I would maybe say right before we end is maybe we can post it on one of our social medias or something, but the videos that we've found, you always have to be kind of careful when you're doing anything with essentially brainwashing, because that's what you're more or less doing here, you know, along with some other things, but you're doing it to yourself. You always have to be careful. If you don't know where sort of the sources come from, you could be getting somebody's video that they made and put out there, and halfway through the video, you know, you're dead asleep and you're listening to this, and, you know, next day you start like walking like a chicken or something, and you wonder why that happened, and like halfway through your Monroe Institute tape, it's like, walk like a chicken.
Basically, so, my opinion, my whole thing with this is that it's something that I'm not like, I don't either promote it or demonize it, because I'm not exactly sure. Like what you're saying right now is like, for all I know, you know, this thing could actually work wonders for people, or there could be some kind of predictive shit in it to control the person using it, which is why I really haven't gone too far with it. And who knows, because I've come across stuff that isn't the same. So who knows what's on YouTube or this and that. So we're not like telling you to go out and listen to them either.
Right. Yeah, just be careful.
If you do, that's on your own shit.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Yep. But I mean, what an absolutely fascinating subject. I mean, this is some of the coolest stuff I've ever researched. I mean, the CIA talking about it. We live in a consciousness matrix, and the way we perceive reality isn't real. And like, I mean, just to get it out of question, do you think personally that the CIA would go through this much trouble to put this document out for disinformation?
Oh, I don't know. I hope.
The only thing,
because I just wasted our time. I fucking read a lot of shit for nothing.
Right. Yeah, it's me. I don't know. I don't think so. It came out in 2003. I mean, the internet wasn't really too crazy then, so it doesn't seem like they would put it out for disinformation like other psychological operations that they've done.
Yeah.
While they convince all of us that magic and all of that stuff is fake, and you know.
And I will say, like I say every other episode, if you like our stuff, like it, subscribe, pass it on, you know, get it out. We're on BitChute, Gab TV, YouTube. We are on Anchor, Spotify, and whatever other podcasts that Anchor sends to. So episodes like Rumble. This you can listen to. Yeah, and Rumble. So any episodes like this you can listen to. You don't have to watch it on YouTube or BitChute. It will be a podcast. Yeah,
and I've been trying to get stuff up on Library, guys. Sorry, I don't know. I think Library's been having a lot of trouble. LBRY, I mean. Seems like it's just really unsteady. It's like watching Joe Biden walk up a flight of stairs. It's like, I don't know what is up with it, but as soon as I can get some videos up on there, I will, guys. I promise. So
Yes. So there we go. So I guess until the next one, everybody be well, and we'll talk to you later.
See you.